Make sure to like the video, subscribe and press the bell icon.
Hi dear friends, welcome to this video. In this video we are going to make this web application. The job of this web application is to fetch the data from an API and display that into the web page. As you can see, all of this data come from another website, from another API, and we fetch them and display them in our own web page. Let me show you. This is the API. It gives us the data in an array of objects, as you can see, and we fetch the data and display that in our web page by using JavaScript. So let me show you how to make this step by step. To make this, first I'm going to go to the Visual Code editor, and first I make a file called index.html. To show you in a better way, I make my Visual Code smaller and divide my screen into half, and I run this one with Lifesaver. Now my code is display in the browser live, so anything I write here, it automatically will be displayed here. So first let's make the index.html and try this code. First I'm going to add the basic HTML5 structure. I give it a title, fetch API by using JavaScript. After that I'm going to also import the Bootstrap library. Okay, in the body, before writing anything here, I'm going to write my code into the JavaScript. But first I have to make the JavaScript file. I call it fetch.js, and I have to import that file into my HTML, so I use a script and call that file in here, fetch.js, and save. So now anything I write here will be displayed into our web page. The first thing we have to do is to fetch the data from the URL. So I copy my URL and put it inside a variable. So I make a variable in my JavaScript. I call it URL and equal that to the URL. I paste the URL in here, and my URL is stored in the URL variable. After that I need to fetch this URL, so I use the fetch function, fetch, and inside this one I can write my URL, but because I put the URL inside the variable, I just can easily call that variable. After that I want a response, so I write then and response, and this is equal to response dot I want to convert anything I fetch into the JSON so I can read that more easily, so I write JSON, and just like that my file is converted to JSON. Let me use the console log to show the response. Let's open the console in here. Okay, I have to write another line of code. Then I say to get the response as response data and run this function, and inside this function I'm going to call the response data. What is the problem? Okay, it is 1. Let me see what is the problem. Okay, I don't know where this comes from. Let's save and go go to the console, and as you can see, I get everything from the API in here. You can see all the data come into as arrays, and because I convert it to JSON, I can easily see that this is the information of every user. So I need only the name of the user, it is login. I also need the profile picture, which is the avatar. Where is the avatar? Okay, this must be okay. This is the avatar URL. This is the profile picture, and I also need the ID. I want to get these 3 files and display that into my web page. So to do that, I remove this console log. I make a variable called user ID, and I make this one array. Also make another variable, this one for user login, which is the user name, and equal this one also as an array. And I also make another variable, and this one user image, this is also an array, which means I get the array of all the user IDs, user logins, and user images. To get that one, I need to use for each to get those information. But before that, we have to store this response data into a variable. So I just make a variable called data and equal that to response data. Let's console.log this data. Okay, as you can see, the response data is stored in our data. Now we can use this data to now we use for each to get the each of user IDs, user logins, in user image. So I write data dot for each, sorry, like this. And inside this, I make a temporary variable called I, and this is equal to a function. What this function does, this function get the user ID, which is this one, from the JSON, which comes from the API, and put that inside this user ID array. To do that, all I need is to get the user ID, which is I.id, because this ID came from here, the ID, and I want to push it inside this user ID array, and that's very easy. I just write this user ID here and push, and just like that, the user IDs comes and I push it inside this array. Now I have an array of user IDs inside this variable. Let me show you that. I use the console. Let's console.log and that user ID. Let's save it. As you can see, I get an array of all of those IDs in here, and just like that, I make another, copy this 3 times, and now I want to get the users. So first I have to see what is the name of users inside this data. Let's comment this one and see. Okay, the user is called login, so I copy that, paste it in here, and I want to get the login, which is the username of everything inside our API, and push it inside this user login array. And I also want to get the user image, which is the avatar URL, this one. I copy that, paste it here, and push it inside this array. Okay, now let's comment this one and then comment this one and check each one. I want to check the user logins. As you can see, I get the list of every user. I also want to check the user image, and as you can see, I get the URL of every user, which is a profile picture of every user. Okay, so it means how it worked. Now I want to display that inside my web page. To do that, I have to make a table. So I go to my index.html, and inside the body tag I'm going to make a table. Because I used Bootstrap, so our table gonna have a nice design. First of all, I make a div with a class of container, and inside this div will be our table. So I make a table with a class of table, and inside this table, first of all, I need to make the table head, or the table header. Inside this table header, I make a table rows. Inside the table row, each table row headers, first one is ID, and I just copy this one 3 times. The second one is the user name, and after that image. And after the table head, I need to make the table body, which is the table body. Okay, but I need to give this table body a ID, which we're gonna use it later on our JavaScript. I call it table body, and just like that, as you can see, we have a table now. Now let's go to the fetch.js, and we get the data and store them into arrays. Now you want to put this data into this table, and to do that, this is very easy. First, I have to select my table, and because we want to put the data inside the table body, that's why we give this table body ID. So I make a variable called table body and equal dot document dot get element by ID, and I select my table body in here. Once I did that, I want to export every data from this array into this table. To do that, I have to use a for loop. So I make a for loop I make a variable of okay, there's an easier way. If you just write for and select this one, for loop automatically make a for loop for you. So instead of this array, I need to put the data, because I want every data, I want to loop every data from this data variable. So inside this for loop, first of all, I make a variable called row and equal that to, you have to use this I don't know what this called, but I can show you on our image, that button. If you know the name of this thing, please let me know in the comment. So I write this one, and inside this one I write my HTML code. Okay, first of all, because we want to put the data inside the table body, so I have to make the table row, and cancel my table, close my table row. Inside this table row, I make the td and close my td, and I have to make it 3 times. Inside this td, I just write dollar and this arrow brackets, and inside this one I put my variable user ID. And because we want to fetch everything, and that's why we used loop, so we want the index of this user ID. So after writing the user ID, just write this and put the index inside this. Now it gets every elements, every data from this array, and put it each time inside this table by using the for loop. Okay, I just copy this one and write it here and here. Now instead of user ID, I just put user login and user image. Now if we save this, you see nothing happens because we didn't put this one inside this one. To do that, all I need to do is inside this for loop, I just write, I select my table body and write inner HTML equal to row, sorry. As you can see, I only get the last file. That's because I have to put this data every time into the table. To do that, I just write a plus in here, and as you can see, every data is displayed in our table. And because this one is a link of image, I can easily just write image tag, and I also want to give it a class of the image because I want to later give it some style on this CSS. Write src and equal that to this one because this is the link, and just like that. I also want to give it a width of maybe 100 pixels, 100 pixel, and a height of 100 pixel. And just like that, I close my image tag. Now as you can see, I get all images, and that's so easy, right, to get the information. And you can get all other information. For example, you see we have the node ID, the URL, the HTML URL, and other informations. You can get all of this and display into your web page just like we did here. You can get more and make another variable of arrays and fetch them just like this. But I want this tree is enough for this video. So we fetch the data, but it doesn't look nice, so I want to give it some style. I make another file called style.css and link that to my HTML file. I link. Actually, I have to do that before writing the JS, but it doesn't matter. I go to the style. So first of all, I select the, let's see what we have. We have the image. I want to first give some style to the image. I select that by class, and I want to give it a border radius of 20 pixel. Let's see how it looks. Oh, it looks much nicer. After that, I want to select the body itself and give it a background color of maybe light yellow. It looks nice. And after that, I want to select my container. So let's select the container, and I give it a background color of white, and I give it a width of 500 pixel. Also give it a padding of 10 pixel. I give it a margin top of maybe 20 pixel. That looks much better. Also want to give it a border of 1 pix dashed black, and now it have a border. I want to give a radius to my border of 7 pixel. I want something to be able to resize my table, but before that I want to give some padding, some margin to my bottom, maybe 20 pixel. I want to give my table ability so I can resize this one. To do that, it's very easy. Just write overflow to auto and resize bot. Now I'm able to resize my table. As you can see, I can resize my table. I can make it smaller in width and also in height. Okay, beautiful. Now I want to give some style to my container tr. Let's select that one. I want to give some style to my table itself, so I select that one. I give it a background color of no, I think I don't need to write any background color. I give it a text legend, text line center. I want to center the text, and now it's a center. I also want to select this one and give it some style on hover. I change the background to black and change the color of text to white, and now I have a nice selection. I want to give it some animation, so sorry, not animation, but give it a transition, is and out 0.1 second. Now I can hover very nicely. After that I want to select the okay, you can see I also can hover on the table heat. I don't want that, so I select the table heat, and I give it a background of black and a text of white, and it's already that color. After that I think I don't need anything else. That's enough, and our code is finished. Now as you can see, I have a nice table. I can resize this one, and I have the scroll to scroll, and I get every data from an API by using just JavaScript. And this is all in only 36 line of code. That's not too hard to do. You see, it's very easy. The most important thing in this code is the fetch function and the response data, and to make this array, and use the for each to loop each array and push that to our array. I think this is not difficult. It's very easy, and that's how you can fetch the data from any API you want. So guys, I hope you learned something in this video. If you have any question about this, let me know in the comment below. And if you want to fetch the data from the PHP of MySQL server or something like that, let me know in the comment. I will make a video about that one. But if you have any question about any line of code, anything in this video, or want me to progress this one, just let me know in the comment. So if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe and press the bell icon. Have a great time.